Mail Online, and the story they wrote about how the fact that white South Africans now live in poverty in informal settlements, which is actually just a fancy name for shacks, how it is their fault because they got everything in the apartheid era. So that's sort of upset me a little bit, and I had to stop the video before I started a war between the United Kingdom or Britain and South Africa again, you know. And I think I did mention, was it Andrew? That's why you shouldn't make YouTube videos when you are upset. Wait till the next day and then do it. Say the same stuff, but just don't be upset. Okay guys, so I want to go through this idiot's article. The white ghettos that lie South Africa 20 years after the fall of apartheid. How it is now white people who live in squalid camps. Squalid camps? What the fuck is a squalid camp? Squatter camp? Or is squalid camp the same thing? I don't know. There are 42,000 white South Africans living in poverty, a figure which has grown in the last 20 years. That figure is wrong. Munseyville is a squatter camp west of Johannesburg, which is home to 300 of them, many of them kids. Under apartheid, white South Africans lorded it over blacks and coloreds, but now there is equality. There are 4.5 million white South Africans, and every year thousands immigrate to Australia or New Zealand. A quarter of a century ago, black South Africans were living in squalor while most whites lived the good life in apartheid era South Africa. Now let me explain to you the good life. The good life they're talking about is people working behind the counter at a grocery store, packing bags, having 3 jobs to be able to support their kids, getting clothes from the welfare for their children because they don't have money to buy clothes. A birthday gift you can know is going to be panties or underpants. That's a novelty. You know, so I'd like to see these people he's talking about, because that's the world I grew up in, and that is 30 years after the fact. So I don't know where he comes off, where he gets this information, but I would love for him to come and visit us in South Africa. I would actually just like him to read up a little bit and not, put bullshit out there. Or is this just photos? Janine Maritz, 13 years, stands down the road from her mother's makeshift home. She lives with her father and visits her mother and aunt in Munseyville squatter camp on weekends and holidays. Would you let your kid go in there? Chillo repairs broken mobile phones to afford his drug habit. He recently some time in prison and only stays in Munseyville when his girlfriend's husband is away. Sounds like some decent folk. Irene van die Kerk washes her clothes in a bucket as her daughter tries to calm down a crying grandson in the background. Too many residents. Irene is the community leader, and she and her husband Hugo try to keep order in a small community. Jannie Geldenhuis tends to the gardens. He grows fruit and vegetables that he and his partner Susan eat, saving costs on groceries each month. They live off Jannie's state pension and Susan's disability fund. So that's what state pension in South Africa. Working all your life for a government gets you. So take note, you guys that have been paying taxes all the years. You know these Sweden, which they like talking about, where you pay 71% of your taxes, and how the government's going to look after you and all kinds of things. And then one day you wake up and you live like this because the government went and spent all your money, and you got to a point where there is a shortage of people to generate the money that you were supposed to get to stay living. Why? Because let's say Westerners, let's not make it a race thing, let's say Westerners tend to have less kids. So in other words, there's a gap. There really is a gap. The problem is the guys we're bringing in isn't the educated ones we needed. Firstly, secondly, they're not compatible with Western civilization. So, a picture of Jannie Geldenhuis' son hangs in his hut. He has not seen his son for many years since he is unwilling to speak to his father and has moved overseas. Andre Coetzee spent his time digging through the dump site by the entrance to the squatter camp. He finds the items that he spends time refurbishing with the idea to sell it. He hopes to get free food from Irene on a daily basis, and he and his wife have both lost their ID documents and cannot claim welfare benefits. Children play in the weeds growing in the edges of the white sugar camp, squatter camp. A quarter of those in the camp are children. Check how fancy it is. That guy's got a double story. Look at that. Yes, huh? How privileged is that white guy? Lorraine Cosmo kisses her pet bird Polly. Lorraine suffers from bipolar disorder. She is unable to afford a much needed medication, and her state disability income does not cover all of her medical needs. She's living with her husband Marius, who works night shifts as a security guard at a shopping center. Have you guys had enough yet? Or shall we continue? Because this is the same magazine that just told us how it's their faults. Now look at the age of these people, okay? So the age of these people, the men probably went to war. The Grens War, as we used to call it. That was mandatory. It wasn't that you had a fucking choice or anything like that. You went to go and do 2 years, and that was done. You had 2 years, or your choice was 2 years in the army, 1 year training, and then a year deployed to the Grens, or 4 years in jail. That was your option. Okay, so, and they weren't fighting black people, they were fighting communism, because even though it was mainly black people that were fighting. They were fighting. Cuba was involved in the war. Russia was involved in the war. And for some other fucking reason, the UK gave the ANC pounds. A shitload of pounds. Can't remember if it's China or Vietnam, but one of them was trained, or a bunch of them, Mandela included, was trained up by them. That's why this farm murder, um, brutal and ruthless farm murder. Let's just say that's where the brutality comes from. Pierre Potgieter picture spends most of his free time tending his garden. He lives off his state pension in the squatter camp. He does not need to pay rent or utilities. He cannot afford to live elsewhere. Happy life, eh? Worked all your life, you end up like that. It's great. White South Africans have a wonderful time. Don't you think so? Children will play on the makeshift bridge near the refuge dump by the entrance of the white squatter camp. So they got prime spot, guys. It's right in front of a dumpster. Awesome. Look how wonderful the old South Africa is looking after white people who gave their lives for them now. Jan picture lives next to the edge of the white squatter camp. Previously, police have evicted black residents living in the border of the white squatter camps, but to no avail, as many have just moved back. Now, this I must tell you is that they don't actually have a problem. The white guys don't actually have a problem with this. It's a form of segregation which they want to keep. I don't think they want the world to see that this is happening, that black and whites are suffering together. I think the intent is to show that there's whites are isolating themselves, living in one corner, while blacks have to live in another corner, and it's even worse because there's more people there. Because there are some places where there are white squatters living in between in the black communities, and these guys speak fluent Xhosa. They speak their language. It's actually amazing. They look after him. They look after each other. If he doesn't have sugar or toilet paper, they supply him with that. It's people. It's people in a tough situation. It's not a race thing. It's not a. If somebody comes and visits him that he knows, everybody's happy for him around him. White ghettos that lie South Africa. Guys, I actually wanted to go through the other one, the newer one, but I think we've seen enough. It's one of the reasons I don't talk about South Africa, because people don't know what's going on here. There's so much more than farm murders. There's so much more than people wanting to take farms away from white people. And people won't believe you if you tell it to them. I mean, this. What I find amusing, and I shouldn't find it amusing, is the amount of people that this virus now killed is round about the amount of people that get killed on a weekend in a radius of probably between 5 and 10 kilometers from me, in the 3 informal settlements. So when you come to me and you tell me 50 people died, I'm like, why did we close the economy? I don't get it. Well, I actually do get it. But there's always a conspiracy behind everything, so let me not get into that. Guys, thanks for listening to my rant. I'm sure it's gonna get better before it gets worse. Stay safe, stay tough, stay inside, and exercise.